Greetings, and welcome to a Fireside Chat with Zany Mystic. I'm your host, Lance White. Tonight, I'm delighted to have my good friend back to the show, Andrew Norton Weber. Andrew is both an artist as well as being one of the world's leading experts on distilled water therapies. He is single-handedly creating a revolution in evolution by teaching others how to cleanse toxic waste, such as fluoride, from the body and pineal gland. It is also a tool for rapid purification and awakening. He will be speaking at the annual World Conference on Urotherapy in San Diego on Saturday, November 14th through the 16th. Then, on November 23rd, he will be coming to my area in California, in Sacramento, for a one-day conference which I will be attending. He will be hosting that himself. So there will be a meet and greet at the beginning where you can meet him, and I'm sure that we'll be able to talk with him probably long after the conference is over. So those who live in California should treat themselves to meeting this very special person and to learn directly from the source about living waters and how to heal, cleanse, and awaken. You can find out more and register at his website at www.aquariusthewaterbear.com. So let's welcome Andrew back to the show now. Hi, Andrew. How are you?
Hi, Lance. I'm great. Thanks for having me on. It's so good to be in the presence of your voice again.
Yeah, well, ditto. The last time I heard you was from another radio show in New Zealand on the Vinnie Eastwood show, and you were really terrific. I really loved you on the show.
Oh, thank you. That went great. Vinnie was great and asked a lot of great questions, and we really got out a lot of the most basic, important points. I really felt good how that went. We covered all of the different ways that the early death article lies to people, and it's been getting a great response. There have been a lot of new people from all over the world who have been writing me letters saying they've been ditching their spring waters, their Kangen machines, and getting on the distilled water and the urine therapies and the juices. So that was my first time interviewing with Vinny, and he was great. He had a lot of helpful anecdotes. And it was kind of, you could see that he was learning as we went, and it was really cool. I really enjoyed his energy.
Yes, one of the things that he brought up at the beginning was that, a lot of people have been telling me I ought to have you on my show, but he said, a lot of people are demonizing you. And what was your reply about backwards land?
Opposite land.
Opposite land, that's it, yes. Tell us about opposite land.
Well, basically, everything is stupid. They tell you to drink water with dirt in it. They tell you that air with chemtrails in it sounds like a good idea. I think we're all quite well aware of how opposite this world is, how far from paradise. The planet's fine. The planet's ready to party. We just have a viral infestation, and people just need to hear this knowledge once. They don't need to buy anything from me. They don't even need to hear it from me. Anybody could go speak it, but it's so simple, it's ridiculous, and that's how my ADD mind can even figure it out. And I kind of communicate it in a way that makes it easy for me to understand it, because that's how I learned it. But I think it's time to turn this into Fame's land, I guess. That doesn't really work. Opposite land. The way things should be land. Paradise land.
Heaven on earth land?
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. In fact, one of the things that you talked about at the beginning of the show, which I thought would be good to mention, is that one of the things that comes up when you do a search using one of the popular search engines is the article or the articles written by doctors or scientists who say that if you drink distilled water, for more than 30 days, you're going to die. And I was quite surprised to discover that some of the people who have been on my show who are quite intelligent and who are, pretty savvy about conspiracies and this and that and the other thing have said that back to me. And when I've mentioned about, drinking distilled water or reverse osmosis or using urine therapy, they say, oh yeah, you can't do that, you're going to die. And that's the end of the story. I mean, you can see the programming and how it occurs. And what I wanted to mention before you get to talk was that what's happening on the internet is that they are replacing through the search engines all of the original source material and spiritual information with duplicates. So I'll give you an example of that. One of my favorite films is a kind of a mind-altering spiritual film called Renegade by Jan Kunin. And it's kind of a spiritual Western which has shamanism and ayahuasca in it. Well, I was just telling a friend before we got live that about the show and about the movie, and pulled it up, and sure enough, they made a biker film called Renegade, and it was done just recently, and you can't find the other Renegade on IMDb. You have to know what you're looking for, and then type in Jan Kunin. So you can't find these things. Same thing with good information on distilled water and water therapies. We're being redirected intentionally, and within a generation or less, everything is going to be overwritten. Nobody will be able to find anything. Have you found that to be true?
I have found that, but I would correct you that within a generation, yes, if it kept going this way, but we are absolutely destroying all the oppositeness on this planet, and people are waking up in droves. So we definitely have got this thing, and we just got to keep telling one individual at a time about the water, and every person that we tell about it, they get to unfreeze their pineal, and we got another light bulb turned on, and the people are, there's so many people helping each other now. Mm-hmm. When it comes to the water, I can just stay out of conversations. People know it already. They can teach other people, and it's spreading faster and faster. One thing I found in particular I'd love to find, there's a video that I saw about, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago. It was called something like, I can't quite remember, something about the secrets of the Wizard of Oz. But it was not OZ, it was AAAHHS. That was the thrust of it. And it was a great video about the meaning of and the importance of the sound ah. And how it's one of the most fundamental noises that you can make. And now there's this hokey this thing BS thing there called the Secrets of the Wizard of Oz. There's all these hokey things about these 20. I can't even stand to look at it. It's stupid. Yeah. But you go down, you look, and you go to the next Google page and down and down. I cannot find this video. So if somebody can, I would love to have it sent to me. It's all about the meaning of the word and the sound, ah. And my email address is contact@andrewnortonweber.com in case anybody can find it. It had beautiful things in there, like one pointing out that the doctor, it's the only, and it's the oct sound, it's the ah, and it's not a doctor, it's the octor, just like you say the octor, or we don't really say the octor, but that's what the D is kind of there. It's like the octor. And you see, it's OCT as in octagon. And there's something about the green octagon. I don't know why green, but you see sometimes the green octagon symbolism in the Illuminati. And there's something, and the octagon is the only one of the shapes that has the ah sound. There's hexagon, whatever, all these different shape sound. The only one that starts with the ah sound is the octagon. And when you go to the doctor, you're supposed to stick out your tongue and say ah. And it's a very, very healing noise. And they're saying also in that video that the video was actually, The Wizard of Oz it was written OZ, of course, to hide it in plain sight. But the whole movie supposedly is really an allegory about what does to you. And everybody does this. They don't realize when you're feeling stressed out or you feel like relaxing, everybody goes, ah.
Right.
And when you do that, a literal wave of stress relief sweeps over you.
Wow.
And so I find it a little bit, and I think it ties into the 432 versus the 440. And the 432 just sounds instantly. You play any two songs in 432 versus 440, and the 432 immediately starts to, you feel like massaging waves come through the muscles and up through your feet and through your hands. Have you listened to that much?
You mean at that vibration?
The 432 hertz. Like on the internet, you can see the Doors' "Riders on the Storm" played in the original 440, but there's also a version of it in the 432. And you switch back and forth between the two. There is an immediate. It's so distinguishable a difference. And the Nazis gave us all these 440 instruments, and it's a little bit too fast. And I like the way my one friend Tony Ezzi put it, that the 440 has a sense of urgency to it, and you're always a little bit tense. And there's almost this cold tin metallicness to it. And then when you play the same thing in the 432 or anything in it, that is the sound that the earth, everything, our bodies, it's the frequency that's all throughout nature. And it seems like the is kind of, we naturally almost say it, I think, in the 432. And that's why you can literally feel that wave of release and stress wash over you. I know when I go out into a park, way away from electronics and wires and telephone poles and cell towers, and I lay on the earth, and I feel that same peacefulness that I've noticed in the 432. I can feel the 432 vibrating out of the earth, and it gives me that, it kind of washes over me in the same exact way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, there's another take on this, and it came out. Came out subtly through the movie Inception. And what it is 528. The frequency 528 hertz is supposed to be about transformation and miracles. And there's a famous person that does medical research. I can't remember who it is right now, but he analyzed
Leonard Horowitz.
Yeah, that's it. And he said that has to do with the love vibration. And so if you tune music to the frequency 528, that it completely changes everything. And I believe that this whole planet has been kept in disharmony, in disunity consciousness, intentionally by, the powers that be, whatever, them, and that we're missing some frequencies, and they keep us constantly at a disharmonic place through music, sound, and etheric stuff, broadcast, invisible stuff, the television, all that stuff. So people who are aware of that are trying to retranscribe music using a higher hertz. And, of course, the Earth's heartbeat is supposed to be the Schumann frequency, which had been somewhere in the 7.8 range a few years ago, and they stopped publishing what it is because supposedly it's getting closer to 12 and 13, and if it hits 13, we all expand in consciousness and become unified. So, I mean, there's all kinds of things like that people don't know about, perhaps because their pineal glands are crystallized with inorganic fluoride.
Well, there's something very strange about Dr. Leonard Horowitz and his 528. I first learned about that 528, and I really liked his work. And he seemed to be really bashing the Illuminati and exposing a lot of truth. Yeah. And I wrote to him and asked, because just around the same time that I sent out a letter around and looking for different people who, one, if they'd heard about my work, and that was when Lisa Harrison responded. that they would love to put me on the air. Leonard wrote back. He said to me, "Nice website," and he said, because I told him about distilled water, in the email he said, "I'm working on instilling the 528 frequency into distilled water," and like, you know, he was going to sell it. 528 frequency distilled water. I'm sure if he's planning to sell it or develop machines to do it. I'm not sure what, but he just told me I'm working on installing that into there. And I said, okay. And he ended with, he says, "Is there anything I can do for you?" And I wrote back. I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, that's great. You know about distilled water." I said, "No, the only thing you can do to me is make sure you tell all your friends and family about drinking distilled water daily, switching their water to distilled water, and just let everybody know about it." And I never heard back from him. And then I went to a musician friend's house about 2 years ago, and I said, "Hey, have you heard about this 528 hertz frequency?" And she said, "Well, no, let me see, check it out." And of course, you can go on the internet with your smartphone and pull up the 528 and the frequencies that Horowitz listed. There's like, 8 of them or whatever that go around that. Those tones, and we played all of them, and it's a horrifying sound. It's extremely, it's when you just punch in when you get your computer to play just the 528 tone, it's a very high-pitched kind of screeching noise. And it was like, it just kept getting worse when you moved to the different things that were in the corresponding frequencies with it. And so, I was going to ask her to, but she couldn't even hardly tune her guitar high enough to even get there.
Wow.
If I remember correctly. And we never pursued it more because using your own observation and intuition, it just sounded horrible. And so I kind of forgot about it and left it behind. And eventually I saw people talking about 432. And the second you try that, it's the exact opposite. You can feel it actually start to, it feels nice. It literally is like a sound massage.
Wow.
And my good friend Alan, who I've known since I was a kid, he plays guitar all the time. And of course, he had never heard of it, played 440 hertz his whole life. And I said, "Dude, try changing you're supposed to change the A string on your guitar to 432, and then all the other strings, you match them to go with it." And oh my gosh, I mean, I've listened to him for endless hours.
Wow.
And as soon as he switched to that, it was, I even felt my pineal tingle, and you could just feel it coming into your body. It's so awesome.
Well, I just pulled it up doing a search, and it says it's the cosmic key of the universe. And there's all kinds of altered states, sacred frequencies, 432 hertz, solfeggio. Anyway, it looks pretty cool. So you're on to something again, as always, pioneering and leading the way and telling us dummies where to look and what to do.
Well, like everything, just like you see all kinds of BS about 528 being great, and we each have to do our own experiment and see what we feel and observe. And I challenge anybody. Play some things in 528 versus the 432, and huge difference. Difference.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that, because I have never heard that before. And, now I have a new piece of information to work with. You
won't believe it. You won't believe how much it washes over you. It just, and it doesn't. Good. I even tried playing Metallica. You can look for songs that have been transferred into the 432. I played Metallica's, I think it was Enter Sandman, but it was awesome. It was a totally different experience. I mean, you can't ruin it. It's almost like when it's in the 432. Yeah, you can have crazy lyrics and things that say weird things, but still the instruments, at the very least, they still wash over you wonderfully in the 432.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that is a wonderful bit of probably ancient wisdom.
Yeah.
What else have you picked up along the way since we last spoke that you you want to share with us. I know one of the things that you and I are both concerned with is the fluoride and chlorine and the other 30 or 40 toxic chemicals and uranium and so on, strontium. I mean, there's just things in our water that we can't really taste other than the chlorine that is absolutely dead. I mean, it's like we're being murdered. So, when I first heard you, I thought, okay, I'm getting off the water, the tap water, because anything can be put in it, and they are putting things in it. There's even discussions about intentionally adding,
aspartame.
Yeah, and then the
lithium, right?
Lithium, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. Yes. And
now,
so there's somebody has too much time on their hands coming up with new ways to destroy humanity. But the Fukushima is another one.
Yep. Right.
We've got
water is a natural
chemtrails.
Yep.
So
water is a natural antidepressant. Most people are looking for spiritual bliss, and they meditate for decades on end, and they practice yoga, and they eat the Ayurvedic food, which has all these crazy different times of years about when you can eat hot foods and cooked foods and this food and that food.
Right.
And whenever I see complicated rules, my BS meter goes off, and I don't see any mountain lions anywhere cooking their food because it's winter. Because they've got too much whatever Ayurvedic energies, and they're this type and that type. I haven't seen any animals by the roadside cooking their meat over a barrel fire.
Right.
Well, I know one thing is
you can't eat snow up at Mount Shasta because of the toxic aluminum count and the chemtrail dumping there. So people go
radiation.
Go up there. And radiation.
I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know if we ever talked about radiation when we did our 4 interviews, but just so people know that also is an inorganic, positively charged particle, and distillation also removes radiation. So for all of our friends that are suffering from whatever radiation leaks we got going on, distillation removes radiation, and or urine therapy. You can loop your own urine, and you can rinse your own radiation out of your own system. Because it's
Where
all,
does the radiation
water.
Go?
If it's in your body, it goes it goes through all your excretory channels. You'll sweat it out, you'll poop it out, you'll breathe it out.
Okay.
But just let the water is the only substance in the entire universe that can go everywhere in your body. And it does not miss a single corner of your body. And it will go everywhere. It will find every radioactive particle, and it will bring it to the liver and the excretory systems, and it will keep dumping it out. And you don't have to be afraid of your liver getting toxic if you're drinking the pure waters, because one of the problems with a distiller and radioactive water is that over time the distiller becomes hot because you have so much radiation in it. But the human distiller is not a static instrument. So the liver, even though it's a distiller, it also gets cleaned continuously by the waters. So we have a self-cleaning instrument in ourselves. So even if you're in a radioactive wasteland, you just keep looping your own water, and you'll be good to go.
Well, it also comes in handy if, there's some kind of emergency where the grid shuts down or the water, let's say there's an earthquake, a natural, these days it's hard to tell what's natural and not since they can create earthquakes and tornadoes and the rest of it. But, they've got that pretty much handled on how to change the weather and create it for us. But let's just say there's an earthquake caused by unknown forces, and the pipes break, and you can't get water. So you can, if you don't have bottled water, or you haven't saved some bottles of distilled water for yourself, you can loop your own. If you were out in the desert, you could survive. And if you're with a group of people, you have exponentially multiplied the sources for water. So, what about the people who say, "Oh, it's not safe because it's excreting all the impurities and the toxins and chemicals and things"?
It's not waste at all. All waste goes out through the liver.
The other end.
And but it's also scientifically known that when blood leaves the liver, it does not need more cleaning. That's not what the kidneys. The kidneys are fine tuners. They what your urine is all excess, or another way of putting it is to think of it as leftovers, and you can choose to eat the leftovers or not. Throw them in the trash if you want to. But that is literally what it is. When you drink a lot of beer, you pee out a lot of water. When you take heavy amounts of vitamins, you start peeing funny colors.
Right.
And so it's a great way if there are vitamins you like, or you can recycle your urine. If you like to do mushrooms, you can recycle the alkans in the mushrooms. If you smoke grass, the THC, they test your urine for THC. Things that are good for you come out in your urine. And it's all in excess. And even my most scientific book I have called Urinalysis in Clinical Laboratory Practice, that cost me about $125, written by A. Free and H. Free a long time ago. Complete study of urine. They said, quote, that the fluids entering the kidney were only very slightly altered compared to fluid leaving the kidney. And so it doesn't go there to have the liver is the major distiller, or the workhorse distiller, and the kidneys are there to selectively remove things that you are in excess of. But the blood that goes into the kidneys is clean blood. And so you've got excess hormones, vitamins, and minerals, all kinds of beneficial compounds. And the only thing you could refer to as waste product, although it's not at all, it's information. It's homeopathic-sized dots of whatever is wrong with you. And those are called antigens. And when you drink your urine, the lymph nodes under your tongue study the antigens, and then they know the information of how to produce the proper corresponding antibodies, white blood cells, that have the knowledge of who it is that's bothering you. I like to refer to them as little white ninjas. And so when they, learn that you've got the flu bug inside you, they get to study it.
Yeah, they study it and produce whatever DNA switches need to be switched. There's a little man in there, or woman, or androgynous person that's flipping switches and saying, "Oh, okay, this is a little okay. Let's fix this over." And then you are your own scientific researcher and chemist and doctor and patient all in one, because you're treating yourself and you're self-contained, and there's no need to go out for pharmaceuticals or other things, really. I mean, unless, I don't know, there may be some things that the pharmaceutical companies produce that are necessary, but I'd rather think that nature can produce anything that big pharma can, and better.
Yeah, I'm thinking we're perfect to begin with. We're not deficient. We are not born deficient in minerals. We are born perfect. Anybody that tells you you're born deficient in any way, shape, or form, you should close your ears and remember that we are the gods. And anybody that wants you to join their religion and tell you that you have to get your wishes granted to you through some other being, or worldly objects, or things that pharmaceutical companies produce, or things that come in bottles, or pills, or potions, or powders, we are born perfect, and we have all that we need within, as above, so below, as without, so within. That is us. The planet is a big old hairy beast, and we are the cells of her. And we ourselves are big old hairy beasts, and our cells are the cells of us. And you can even see every one of your trillions of cells, how many our cells there are in our body, every one of our cells is a conscious entity who has a life unto his own and eats and poops and has friends. And yeah, and you can see videos of white blood cells hunting down toxins and hunting down foreign invaders. And they, it's like going through a maze. They chase them. They literally are white ninjas, little white ninja blood cells. And so when they learn from you drinking your urine and they study the lymph nodes under the tongue, and these ninjas in that training school, okay, once you study this, we've got a report, we've got this Mr. Flu virus is on the loose. Here he is. Here's what it looks like. Here's the weapons that he uses. We've learned that he killed Frank, Johnny, and Bubba, and these are the weapons that he used to kill them. And now you know his tactics, and now go get the flu virus, and now you've got the knowledge of how to destroy this particular victim. And that's exactly how that system works. So,
and then out of fear, people are going to huge corporate outlets to get their free flu shots. And of course, when we're babies now, and for many decades, they have been adding more and more vaccinations and forcing vaccinations. And we know that that's destroying the body's ability. And you must know by now that fluoride is being put in baby food and hundreds of other products that you don't even know it's in it. In addition to toothpaste, I mean, it's in all kinds of foods and additives and in the water. So they dump inorganic fluoride by, thousands of pounds in your public water, but they're also putting it in baby food. And the horrifying thing about that, to me, is that the pineal gland is like a magnet for fluoride, and it's a crystalline gland. And fluoride, it's attracted there like a magnet. I mean, if you took iron filings and put a magnet, it's just like that. And so your pineal gland gets crystallized and isn't functioning properly when all of this fluoride that's pouring through your body through baby food, they're getting us early now.
Well, that's just because it's good for our teeth.
Right. Oh, yes. And what about that?
I'm just kidding. It's the worst thing ever for your teeth. And when I was a kid growing up, there were no advertisements for tooth whitening products. The only thing there was advertisements for people's dentures, and you could soak your dentures overnight, and you could see it had coffee, tea, and blueberry stains. Now, as I drive around everywhere, there's billboards and commercials and ads everywhere with not just old people being advertised as needing tooth whitening products, but 20 and 30-year-olds on these billboards. Hello, why do 20-year-olds need tooth whitening products? That's because there is so much fluoride, and as you pointed out, it's in more and more and more places. And, this is a real alert for anybody that's got babies out there, and they're constantly pushing this extreme BS about giving Cheerios to your babies. Mm-hmm. Any of those shaped or formed products, crackers, Cheetos, Doritos, Rice Krispies, Cheerios, those things are made by making a slurry out of the oats with tap water. Okay?
Oh,
and then,
right.
Yeah. And then they make the little shape, they shoot it through a machine, and they dry it. And so they're concentrated, okay? It's concentrated fluoride. The fluoride in general is in our water at 1 part per million. Cheerios test at 10 parts per million.
Wow.
And just like you said, now that's, they put it in the water at 1 part per million for the average size adult, regardless of the average size baby being 10 times smaller than a man. Now we got them giving 10 times stronger concentrations of fluoride to little babies that are 10 times smaller than people.
Oh, my God.
And so they're hitting that little baby pineal gland with tons of fluoride. You should think of, they shouldn't be called Cheerios. They should be called fluoride loops or Fluorios or Lupios.
Right, and then, of course, that's not even covering the aspect of the wheat and the corn syrup, which is genetically modified by companies like Monsanto, and now you can't get away from genetically modified food because we can't even find out if it's in the food. I just discovered I have a guest coming on next week on Saturday, Julian Rose from Poland, who he's the president of the Organic Farmers, something like that. I can't remember. Anyway, he and his group have banned all genetically modified food in Poland. It cannot be in any food. It can't be grown, and organic farming is the rule. And if they can do it there, then that's a template. And we're supposed to be the leaders of the world. I'm sorry, but this is not the free world. This is the matrix world that we're living in, and we need to follow the examples of others if we can't generate our own thought processes yet because our pineal glands are calcified. Then we need to take action and start waking up before it's too late.
Yeah,
it is too late. I mean, it was too late a long time ago. But it's just,
it's not too late. It's just that it's dire.
Right.
It's important.
It's for people to wake up to these things. I think they'll be doing that in droves and masses, starting right now. Starting right now, we're
definitely
putting it out into the collective consciousness. So now everybody on the planet knows because we're just speaking it, and our speaking is telepathically charging everybody with the information, and the only people who aren't going to get it are the ones that have, their answering machines on in their brains, and they'll eventually, when they get their messages, they'll play this one, and oh my God, I missed this one. This one's really important.
Yeah. I'd like to tell people, as far as some information, I've updated both of my websites, AndrewNortonWeber.com and AquariusTheWaterBearer.com.
Okay.
I've got the 24 doctors has now been expanded to I think it's about 75 doctors and experts, and it's a phenomenal new document. It's very powerful. I've gone a lot further back in time. I've found a lot more doctors from the 1800s that knew all about this. And I've gone as far back as Aristotle in 350 BC. Even he knew that the body could not consume inorganic compounds. He wrote, and this is from Meteorologica, first published in 350 BC, if one plunges a watertight vessel of wax into the ocean, it will hold, after 24 hours, a certain quantity of water that filtered into it through the waxen walls, and this water will be found to be potable because the earthy and salty components have been sieved off. Thank you, Aristotle.
Nice.
Right?
Very nice.
Got great quotes. It's a very powerful document for anybody that tries to tell you that distilled water is bad for you. Going back to opposite land, you mentioned that people talk about calling it dead water. They constantly just say, no, that's dead water, and that's the end of the subject, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they need to understand that, yes, that's actually correct. It is dead water. There's no such thing as living water. Technically, and we can talk about our blood and our urine and fruit juices. We can say that those are living waters, but no, it's the things in them next to the water that are alive. Water is flat out an inorganic compound made of hydrogen and oxygen. It's an inorganic compound. It is dead. That is actually accurate to say that it's dead. But in this extreme world of opposite land, we've got health advocates telling you to drink alkaline water because it's living water, and to stay away from distilled water because it's dead water. And the exact opposite is true. Distilled water gives you, yes, it is dead, but it water, when it's pure, and the more pure it is, the more that it channels light and brings you to life. These quote-unquote living waters, these alkaline waters, whether they're made through an alkalizing machine like a Kangen machine, or if they come from Patagonia or your local river or stream, they talk about Patagonia as being like a Valhalla of alkaline water. I think it comes with 8.5 or a 9.0. But it's alkaline because it's so dirty, because it's so chock full of rocks. And rocks are dead matter, otherwise known as alkalis or ash. This is dead matter, and that's why it has a alkaline reading, and they try to call it living water. But just like distilled water actually is dead water and it gives you life, these alkaline waters give you death. And people that like to drink alkaline water start dying and aging rapidly. And
well,
people
same
that
thing
drink
with well water too, right? Because any waters, any groundwaters are deadly. There are rare springs. There are rare springs that show up at 6 or 8 parts per million. And in the distillation industry, in that world, anything under 10 is considered, under 10 parts per million is considered distilled. Anything under 100 parts per million is considered low TDS water. That means total dissolved solids. And so there are some rare springs that have low amounts of TDS count. And, Daniel Vitalis goes around telling people that distilled water is deadly for you. And I've heard him on Patrick Timpone's The One Radio Network comparing distilled water to cocaine and white sugar. Oh, please.
He says that distilled water is like cocaine compared to the coca leaves, or white sugar compared to the raw cane sugar plant. So they're going on the same thing. And Daniel Vitalis has a website called the Spring Water Locator, which is great, but some of the springs, it'll list information as to where they are, location, the amount of flow, and on. And some of them have the TDS count listed, which is awesome. But it's not a priority on his thing, but it should be. And there's no way you can search for different ways, like according to where you live, and on. But there's no way to search by TDS count. And that is the ultimate of most important things if you're going to drink from a spring, is to find the ones that are actually super low. And that would be awesome if you would change that site and put that on there to make it so that you can look for and find where all the low TDS count waters are. And one more thing about the low TDS, or the last thing I have on my new Doctors and Experts document, the Water Quality Association out of Canada put out an awesome document called Consumption of Low TDS Water. And they did a study specifically to find out whether or not drinking water with low amounts of inorganic minerals in it, or even zero inorganic minerals, was bad for you. Here, quote, it's a committee report by the Water Quality Association done in 1993, and you can find this on my website. The link is called Doctors and Experts, that Aquarius site and my Andrew site. It says, quote, the scope of this paper is limited to answering whether low TDS water contributes to the loss of minerals from body tissues, producing associated harmful side effects. And they end it with evidence is presented to demonstrate that the consumption of water with low levels of minerals is safe. And they give all these different studies that they looked at. A very sarcastic comment. NASA has reported no ill effects from the consumption of approximately 0.05, not even 1 part per million, but a half a part per million. That's what they, on the space station, they have a massive distiller up there. That's all that astronauts drink when they're in space. It doesn't seem to be giving them early death. But so they consume that, and then it finishes with, It appears that the possibility that this could have been a problem was never seriously considered by NASA.
Huh. Well,
so NASA's all about distilled water. Go ahead.
You can get a TDS meter for under $15. I've got mine. I got a couple of them actually on Amazon.com, and a TDS meter measures, as you said, the dissolved salts. And what I found interesting is the tap water here in Northern California was up around, in the 40 or 50 parts per million, which, was acceptable. But some people have measured their tap water up to 70, 80, 90, 100, which is toxic. And distilled water rates 0, and so does reverse osmosis water is about 0.0001. So, you can actually measure these things using a meter if you don't believe it, and you can look at the little digital readout and say, hey, look at this, I got this meter.
You can find them on you can find them on Amazon, and it's great to take to your friend's house to show everybody the water.
Yeah,
I'm glad you brought that up, that some city tap water, because like here, I live in Columbia, South Carolina, and our water, supposedly the city tap water with fluoride, chlorine, and aluminum in it, is rated as one of the best tasting waters in the whole country, right? And on a TDS meter, it comes to 55 parts per million. Well, I want to clarify something, or qualify something. When I say that, and when the Water Quality Association says that the consumption of low TDS water does not have any adverse effects on people, they're talking about natural TDS parts, minerals in the water. And even in the distillation industry, when they say that that anything under 10 parts per million is distilled, and anything under 100 parts per million is called low TDS. Well, we're not talking about extreme poisons like fluoride and chlorine or whatever. When you talk about city tap water, I mean, like my well here is also about 50 or 60 parts per million. But that's not 50 or 60 parts per million of fluoride. Fluoride is extremely deadly, just at 1 part per million.
Yeah.
So, I want to make that distinction. Yeah.
Yes, and it's in, like we discussed earlier, if you do a search on products containing fluoride, inorganic fluoride or otherwise, because there is a difference between organic fluoride and inorganic. And everything they put in food is inorganic, and it cannot be dissolved by the body. It simply has to be either removed, and if it can't be removed, it's moved to where it will do no harm in the bones, the joints, the eyes, wherever, the body in its infinite wisdom can store it temporarily until it can get around to, getting it out along with all the other toxins. And so you end up with people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s with arthritis, eye problems, skin diseases, aging, wrinkling. And, I go to the store sometimes, and a store that we all know and love that, was started by the Waltons. And, it just seems like people are just dying on the vine. And they're shopping there. Everything is dead in that store. I mean, the food is dead. And the people are reflecting it. They look sick and sallow, and there's no happiness. The joy goes out. So,
right. When you look when people look gray and scabby and old and they're shriveling, there's no light coming out of them. But people that start consuming, just look at the movie Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. You get 200, 300, and 400-pound guys. They look all gray and terrible and sour personalities. But by the end of the movie, after 90, 120 days of raw juicing, they're glowing. They go from leaden to golden. When you eat healthy and you're actually doing what's good for the body, people start to glow and they look beautiful. Their skin fills out. It's very obvious whether or not somebody's eating healthy or not. And that brings up a good point about affording organic food versus conventional food. I can't afford organic food. But like you said, the body stores toxins in places that aren't vital in the moment. Plants, because it wants your waterways. Your waterways are the channels for light. And the waterways are one of the most precious parts of your body. And so it stores it off to the sides of the waterways and along the along the sides of the bones and stuff. And plants do the exact same thing. They store their toxins in the fibers because they want their precious waterways to be clear.
Right.
And so, as Dr. Norman Walker in his book, Fresh Vegetable and Fruit Juices, pointed out, that when he studied, when he would juice things, and he was specifically referring to how do people to deal with the pesticides in our foods. He wanted to make people feel okay about that. There's an actual chapter in his book talking about that. And he said that they found when you juice something and then you study the pulp versus the juice, the vast majority of the toxins they find in the pulp because that's where all the fibers are.
Right.
And so I go to the farmer's market and buy cases of oranges and apples at a time. It's all conventional. And I juice that stuff like crazy, and I save tons of money. And, I just got a 35-pound box of oranges for $20, I think.
Wow. So in other words, what you're saying is you don't have to worry about the toxins or the being sprayed with DDT or anything else because it's the juice that you're extracting, and the harmful things are in the pulp.
As long as you're juicing it. It's different if you're just eating
right.
Which is part of the problem with smoothies. People are putting the whole thing in there. If you're just doing smoothies, that'd be you have a lot more impetus to want to be having organic things because you are eating all the pulp, which is where all the toxins are. And this is also why tea is so poisonous. Fluoride is in tea so much, and in particular the green tea plant, which black tea is aged green tea and white tea is young green tea. What you're doing with tea is you are taking the plant and you're not juicing it. It's dried out, so now you've got dried concentrated fluoride and aluminum in the tea leaves. And then what you do is you steep it. You set it in water, and what are you doing? You're drawing out everything that was inside the plant. So what are you doing? You're drawing the fluoride and aluminum out of the plant. And the reason they're pushing green tea on everybody, tell you got to get your antioxidants, there's friggin' antioxidants in everything that's living. But they're pushing green tea because it's the single most collecting fluoride and aluminum plant in the entire planet, no matter where it's grown, no matter how it's grown. Maybe if you grew it underground in a hermetically sealed greenhouse, that'd be one thing.
Right.
But, so fluoride is deadly. I mean, the green tea is, and 1 cup of green, on average, like a green tea has it's like drinking 14 to 20 liters of fluoridated city tap water in 1 cup of tea.
Wow,
I did
not know.
And people take the antidepressants, right? Prozac, the number 1 ingredient is fluoride. What does it do? It mellows people out, right? Why do people like their green tea? Because it mellows them out. Why is it mellowing them out? Because it's loaded with fluoride.
And their brains are are shutting down.
Yeah.
Fluoride
totally shutting down. Absolutely, it's a sedative.
Well,
there's a few minutes left here.
Mind-numbing as well. I mean, they use that in Germany. People can do their research and come to your conference and hear more about this because you have volumes of information about the ancient arts of healing and healing skin, and you'll be going into all of that at your conferences. And I'll be at the one in Sacramento. We're running out of time, so
okay. Let me finish up with these couple things.
Okay.
I am still working on my collection of testimonials. That's going to be the first book I'm going to release, and of course I'm going to release it electronically, completely for free first. It'll always be electronically free on my website. You can just download it as a PDF file. Right now, I have underneath testimonials on both of my websites. There's a link that says testimonials, and underneath there is a PDF for over 500 testimonials, and those are all urine therapy testimonials. Okay. My friend is down here helping me over the past couple of months. We've been working furiously. He is working, and we're organizing. And this new one we're about to release probably maybe within a week. We have at least 1,000 more testimonials. And that one's going to be a combination of distilled water, urine, and fruit juicing testimonials, but it'll be completely separate from the 500 that are already on there. I'm going to have them both up there for a while. So there'll be two separate documents, but eventually we're going to combine them all into one giant book.
Okay, now we really are running out of time now, so you're going to have to share this information. Your people are just going to have to go to your website, and would you make sure that you get those out and mention your email address so people can find out about your conferences?
Okay. Don't we have 4 minutes? How much time do we have?
Like a minute?
Oh, okay.
60 seconds?
Okay.
I'm sorry,
my website
but, there are other shows that want to share things too.
It's AndrewNortonWeber.com and AquariusTheWaterBearer.com and the World Congress Urotherapy.org is the Urine Conference website, and the Sacramento Conference is the Distilled Waters, plural, Distilled Waters Conference, Sacramento.com. We also have DistilledWatersConference.com, and you can go to those sites to learn about how to go to those conferences.
Wonderful. And I'll be at the Sacramento conference, so if anybody wants to meet me, I'll be there. And I
want to meet you.
Well, yeah, I've never met you. All these shows we've done together, and my God, we've never met, so it'll be like a homecoming. I can't wait. I really can't wait.
It's going to be great.
Wonderful. And everybody,
there'll be a lot of high vibrating people there.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I hope a lot of people show up because this is really valuable, vital information right now. So, Andrew, thank you for coming back.
Yep.
Cheryl, yes, mention Cheryl.
Cheryl Scott and her lovely, beautiful husband, Bill O'Hara, they are both going to be there, and they're both going to testify about their experiences, their testimonials. This is going to be a very high-vibrating event.
It'll be wonderful. So thanks, Andrew. We'll see you in Sacramento then.
Love you, buddy. It's so good to hear from you again.
Love you too.
We'll see you soon. All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.